habits. We are going to be talking about habits because habits are at the core of whether you are successful or unsuccessful with reaching your most important goals and objectives for your business and for your life. So this is mighty important stuff. And so in this episode, we are going to be looking at the neuroscience. We're going to be looking at the data. We're going to be looking at the hacks behind how are habits created? What exactly is a habit? And then how do you get rid of habits that are not serving you so you can set yourself up with the right foundation for you to thrive in life, which is what we're here to do. So if you want to learn more, follow me to the other side. Show. I am your host, Luz Gonzalez, and I am your favorite peak performance, purpose, and leadership coach. And we come to this channel every single week to explore the tools, resources, and information for us to reach the next level of our life. Whether we are focused on our professional, our business life, or our personal life, we look at all of the tools that have us move forward and have that momentum that's going to drive us to become the most exciting, most fulfilled version of ourselves. And we do that through focusing on three main tenets. Number one is really standing in your power, owning your self-agency. Number two is rising to meet our full potential, because we're not here just to go through the motions, to just merely survive. We are here to expand into all that we were created to be. And I just believe that to the core of my being. And number three is to take courageous and strategic action on a daily basis to really drive forward the momentum towards us becoming this next version of ourselves. And so welcome back. If you are new here, I'm so excited you're here. Go ahead and subscribe. And below in the description, you will find all of the ways that we can be in touch. And if you are part of this tribe, welcome back this week. I'm just so grateful to have you in the community. All right, so today we are going to be talking about habits, and this is such a critical talk we're gonna have today. This episode is gonna be, it's so important. And if you want to dive in deeper, and if you want to learn more and have access to even more of the behind the scenes of how habits are created, you want to make sure that you sign up for the monthly life coaching program that happens every fourth Tuesday of the month from 7:30 p.m. Central Time through 9:30 p.m. Central Time. So that's 2 hours of life coaching with me. It's $29 a month, which is insane for world-class coaching. I charge over $800 an hour. So you want to be there. It's so much fun. It takes me back to basically being a teacher. I was a teacher at some point. So it's been incredible, and I would love to see you there. And if you want to learn more on next, it's the 2 Tuesdays from now. So that's from this video. We are going to be talking about, the power of habits, what we're talking about in this video today. And we're also going to be talking about how do we become really a ninja of our emotions and of our mindset, that no matter what is happening in our lives, we are really in control. So I would love to see you there. I would love to have you join the community. Join. It's like, it's so good. And the previous episodes will be going down, so you want to join ASAP. Okay, so let's dive into talking about habits, and how they are critical to your success in whatever part of your life you're really aiming to be fantastic at. Well, you have to analyze and look at what habits are driving my current experience of these areas of my life. So a little interesting factoid, about 40% of what we do on a day-to-day basis is just based off of habit. We're not even thinking about it. And you guys know I love brain science, and we're gonna be talking about some just like brain stuff, which I find to be super exciting. So when we think of the brain is really, if you think of the brain, it's kind of like layers of an onion, right? So the first part, I like to break it down into three main parts of the brain. So we have the reptilian part of your brain. This is kind of like the first part of the brain when, if we go back in terms of evolution. This is the first part that evolved in terms of us being human. Then there's the limbic system. And then there's the neocortex, which are a lot of our conscious thought and our intentions and like our visualizing. All that stuff comes from here. But so many of our actions are really driven by this first part, the reptilian part of it. And this is a very simplistic way of explaining it. But, you know, for the sake of simplicity and understanding, let's go with those three. And so the reptilian brain, this is what drives a lot of your habits. And so there is this, let me make sure I get it right. So the basal ganglia are a hub of neurological tissue that are really in charge of our habits. And so, you know, in the morning when you go to work and you're driving out with your car, you don't stop to think of all the things that you need to do. You don't stop to think about like when you first woke up, you had to like brush your teeth. You don't have to think about getting in the car and turning on the car and, you know, backing up and opening up the garage door. These things are just on automatic, and good thing they are, because otherwise we would be paralyzed by the amount of information that is being, you know, that we're being exposed to on a second to second basis, right? And so what our brain is able to do is say, hey, these things we're just gonna put on automatic. We don't have to think about them. And that's gonna make it so we are more efficient, right? So like we can use this brain space for us to focus on things that require thinking. And so that's not gonna be your habits. The thing about habits is that the brain does not recognize. Your brain is really there not to have you thrive, but to have you survive. And so the brain doesn't recognize the difference between good habits and bad habits. It doesn't know that, you know, you craving, I don't know, like ice cream when you're feeling stressed isn't supportive of you. It's just like, well, we're feeling this thing, we want to get a reward, automatic habit. And so many of the things that right now are keeping you from being your best are based off of habits that are just not really working for us. So we're gonna talk about what we do about that. So a habit is a mental, a physical, or an emotional behavior that happens basically on automatic. And there are parts to how we can understand a habit, how we can break down a habit. So I'm going to show a diagram here. And so habits are broken down into three main parts. You have a cue, which is something that happens that lets your brain know, hey, this is an automatic behavior that we're triggering. Let's go ahead and trigger the routine. A routine, which is the actual behavior that you take. And then finally, a reward. Now, there are other factors that inform this, what's called a habit loop, and we're going to talk about that. But the three main components that you need to know about are those three. So the cue, the routine, and the reward. And so a cue can be broken down into one of these five. It can be a location, a time, an emotional state, other people, or an immediately preceding action. So these are examples of cues, things that let your brain know really that, hey, let's go ahead and you know, trigger the behavior. And so an example could be, you know, you wake up. And so when I do my coaching with my one-on-one clients or my group coaching clients, we talk about their behaviors, we talk about their triggers, we talk about what they do immediately when they wake up in the morning, because again, so much of this is stuff that we haven't really thought about as a habit, but it is a habit, and we can hack these habits that you already have to then change the routine so you are supporting yourself and really thriving in your life. And so maybe the first thing that you do when you wake up is you just like go and brush your teeth. And that's like the first thing. You don't really think about it anymore, right? So for me, what I did is I changed my first thing that I do in the morning is, you know, without even having to think about it, just change into exercise gear, right? That is me using this system to hack myself for success. So I don't even have to think about it. It just happens now. And so you have your cue, again, that's the action, and that could be Again, there were 5 that we are focusing in on. That's location, time, emotional state, other people, and an immediately preceding action. Then we have the routine. The routine is the behavior, and again, this is an emotional, physical, or mental habit, behavior that happens that is triggered by the cue. What often happens is we're not really aware of the cue, we're mostly aware of the behavior. So we're gonna start breaking this down. And then the last piece of it is the reward, and understanding what is a reward is also really helpful in thinking of how do we create new habits, and then also how do we change habits that are not really serving us. And so a reward can be something like a feeling of being able to connect with someone, an ability to distract your brain, having a break from your work, a sense of, and the thing is, you have to understand what the reward is actually giving you. You might think that the reward is, well, I just eat an apple at, at this time at 2 p.m. every day. Is it because you're hungry, or is it because it gives you the ability to take a break? What is it really that's giving you? So we want to look deeper both into the cues and the rewards. And so in your life, you can start thinking about what's a habit that I want to change. So I'll bring up an example for me. So a habit that I wanted to change was going to sleep late. I am a natural night owl, and as I was, reading, so all this content really comes from the book, The Power of Habit. And so initially when I heard about this book, I was like, all right, I get it. Like, it's pretty obvious. We have cue, routine, reward. I don't have to read the book. And then I read it, I was like, there's so much brain science, and it's been fascinating. Anyway, so as I was listening to the book, you guys know, like, I go running and listen to books. So I was listening to the book, I was thinking, oh, this is something that I want to change. I want to change my, natural night owl tendencies. And so how can I use this structure for me to hack myself? And so what I did is I thought of, right now, there really wasn't, the habit was kind of like being on the phone or just being busy or working. And so there wasn't a concrete habit loop for my brain to look for. And so what I did and what I changed to really support my brain, to give it a reward, this is a creation of a new habit, to give it a reward for it to anticipate, which is, we're going to be talking about why anticipation is really important. I'm a peak performance coach. I do these like productivity, exercises, and trying it out for you guys and then letting you know how it goes. So I bought a Echo Dot, and so I knew that I shouldn't have my phone on, and your phone shouldn't be on for like the last 30 minutes to an hour of when you go to sleep. But I was just like, well, I need the phone because that's where I have my alarm and all the things and the music. And so having my Echo Dot has completely, solved around that. And so now I'm able to have my phone outside of my room while everything that needs to happen happens inside my room, thanks to this, little technology. And so what I set it up to do is I set up a routine. So as soon as 10 p.m. hits, this music starts playing. It's like this yoga, very calming, soothing. You guys can already see that, like, I'm anticipating that feeling of like, the day is over, right? And so the cue is the music. The cue is also the time, so 10 p.m. And then I go into bed and then I read a book, which you guys know I love reading. And so it's really both a time for me to relax, for me to listen to this music, and you want to support this new habit through at least 21 days. There's, different numbers, 21 days, 28 days, 30. So what I have is I have a 30-day habit tracker, and I'm going to include one below that you can access. And so with my habit tracker that I have, I have, like every single day, I check it off. That's an extra reward, the sense of accomplishment. And that is something, if you guys have heard of your strengths finders, so one of my strengths is achievement. So like, I like to feel achieved, right? And so for me, checking off that little check mark makes me feel like, yes, I did it. So I have both that. I have the cue that tells me it's 10 p.m., time to go to sleep. I have the reward of both the check mark and just like that space to breathe and relax and, and wind up the day. And it just feels really good. And so I'm helping myself create this new habit. Now, how do we change habits? Understanding the basic structure of cue, routine, and reward, we can, you would mostly know what habit you want to change by understanding the behavior that you want to change, right? So what is a behavior that you want to change? Maybe you want to eat less sugar. Maybe you want to stop drinking caffeine. Whatever it is, you look at the actual routine. Then you're going to get really specific as to what is the cue that triggers it. So you're going to go through your day and you're going to think about what's happening throughout my day. How am I feeling? What time is it? Where am I? Who's around? What are the things that are happening when I start, having the feeling like I want to do X action? So you take the behavior that you want to change, you analyze it, and you really study the cues, and then you get really real about understanding the reward. Is the reward that you're getting the actual action that you're taking, or is it something else? And so by understanding the cue and the reward, we can then change the routine by adopting a new behavior and then making it so the same cue happens, we change the behavior, and then we have a similar reward. So you should be getting the same reward from this new behavior. And so by same reward, again, this is why I asked you, what is the actual reward that you're getting from it? Is it, eating the apple at 2 p.m.? Or is it that you're getting a break and just like a space to breathe? And so if it's really about socializing, okay, well then, 2 p.m., you stand up and then you go for a little walk, and maybe, you talk to someone you care about. So you change the routine. Not that eating apples is a bad one. Maybe it's like, I don't know, you are eating a pizza, right? You're eating pizza every time you get stressed. And so rather than going for the pizza, maybe that just makes you feel like you can breathe better. So often we're eating just because it just allows the digestion process, allows us to breathe more deeply. And so maybe you just need to take a little breather. Maybe you go for a walk. So you're getting the similar reward, and that can help you replace a habit that's really not serving you. The thing to know, however, is that your bad habits, they're always gonna kind of be there, which is why we need to be very strategic about replacing it. A habit isn't just gonna go away. It's not. It's been ingrained in there, and it can be decreased in its power, and how likely it is to play out. But if you replace it and then you continue replacing it, then this new habit's gonna take over, or the replacement. And so just an understanding that we can't really get rid of habits. It's always gonna be lurking. So you do need to, creating new habits, the sort of the bad news is that it's not easy, right? You're gonna have to work at it, and it's gonna take some time, but the good news is that you can change any habit. Now, a few last factors for me to talk about. There are 3 things. For the number 1 is craving and anticipation. So your reward and your habit loop, it really needs to be something that your brain comes to anticipate as something that if you didn't have it, you'd be like, you would feel frustrated, or there'd be some negative association with this. And so say for me, for my new loop that I created around going to sleep earlier, now if for whatever reason I'm like, I just know that it's become this negative thing, and I actually really anticipate the feeling of, leisurely jumping in bed and being like, yes, this is my time of just quiet and reading a book. And so you need to anticipate. So as you're thinking of this loop that you're creating or that you're changing, you need to think, am I anticipating? Is there a craving here? And if there is no craving or anticipation, it's not very likely, it's not going to succeed. And so you need to have the right reward, the right loop that's helping you replace or create a new habit that's going to support you be successful in your life. Number 2, belief that you can actually change is critical. So you need to actually believe that this is a behavior that you can be successful in changing this behavior. And then number 3, which is super critical in all the studies, if you have this extra component, it just really, really helps. And that's having a community of support. That's why, Alcoholics Anonymous is really successful. That's why, group coaching is successful. That's why creating a community. That's why, being part of a spiritual community, just being a part of a community, period, is, really helpful. And so you want to think of, who else can I bring on, even if it's just one person, who else can I bring on in this journey so we can support each other, so I can have the support that I need for me to either change a habit or create a new habit. So there we have it. We learned what habits are. We learned a little bit about the brain science behind habits. We learned about the habit loop, and that we have a cue, a routine, and we have the reward. That craving and anticipation really drives this whole thing, that we need to believe that we can actually change, and that having a community of support really helps this entire thing be sustainable and successful. And so again, I really want to invite you to join our monthly life coaching program, or now our monthly business fundamentals. And so this is where you find these, groups of supporters, of people who are on the same path of growth as you are, where you're like, you know what? I don't want to go for the pizza. I do want to go to sleep earlier so I can wake up earlier. So the first thing that I do in the morning is go for a run. And for us to do that, it's just going to be so much easier for you to do that if you have a community of support who are executing at that higher level, who are also pushing themselves to expect more from life, to really want to not just survive, but to thrive in their life. And so again, I am so excited to have you here. Let me know what habits you have in your life. What are you trying to change? What are you trying to get rid of? What new habits do you want to start altogether? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, it is such a pleasure to be here with you guys. Sending like and love, and I will catch you next week.